Have you ever wondered what pro artists use to create these amazing art pieces? Because I did. Therefore I went and looked everywhere to find the things that help them create much better drawings. So let me show you 5 things that you can use to make your art much better. So let's start with the first thing. We need a graphic tablet, and there is a lot of types when it comes to them. But also there's a lot of brands, and choosing this might be a little bit more overwhelming. So let me tell you everything that you need to know. So first let's group them into 4 types. So screenless with a display, iPad and a phone. So screenless tablet is a pretty simple tablet that you have on your desk and it doesn't have any screens. Therefore drawing on it can feel a little bit weird and you need to get used to it. So pros of the screenless tablets are they're pretty cheap, they doesn't really take much space, aren't that bad when it comes to ergonomics, and smaller ones can be portable with a laptop. Now for the cons, it takes some time to actually get used to it and it's less precise because sometimes your monitor can be a little bit bigger than the tablet. So I would recommend this if you are on a budget, because these are around like 50-100 bucks. Now for the display tablets, which I've always wanted to have, but after I got it I realized that's not really that special and there is not much difference between the screenless and with a screen tablet. And there's even a lot of pro artists that are using a screenless tablets. Pros of the graphic displays are that they are obviously cool. They are also more precise because you see where you put your strokes, and you can also use it as a monitor. Now for the cons, it's actually more expensive. Also can be worse for the ergonomics because you're really close to the screen and also you'll probably have a best posture. It also takes a lot of space and it's not portable at all. Now if you have money for it, then you can go for it. But just remember, it won't make you a good artist, and I thought it will. Then we have iPad, and I guess tablets like iPad. And for a long time I used only that with a Procreate. But let me give you pros and cons. So for the pros is actually super smooth and really enjoyable to use. It is super portable, you can take it everywhere. It's also all-in-one, so you don't really need a PC, and has a really good drawing app which is Procreate. And you can also use it as a monitor for your PC or Mac. It also doesn't require any cables. Now for the cons, it's super expensive. There's limited apps and a really small screen. And I miss a lot of things from the PC that I have, like PureRef or Gesture Search. But yeah, if you want to have something that you can go everywhere with and you have the money for it, then go for it. Then we have phones, and I didn't really use them, but let me give you some pros and cons of these. So you probably have one already. It is obviously super portable and you can have styluses for it. Now for cons, it's super tiny, it is super hard to create a detailed drawing, and it really can hurt your wrist. If you're just trying to see if drawing is for you, then you can go for it. And every tablet has pros and cons, and it all depends on the things that you're going for. So if you're on a budget, then just get a screenless tablet. And if you have more money and you want like more realistic drawing experience, then you can go and get a display tablet. And if you want to take something everywhere you go, then just get an iPad. And if you're just starting and trying drawing, then just use a phone or even Sketchbook. Now when it comes to choosing a brand, I don't really have much experience with this because I've been using a Huion and an iPad for all my art journey. If you want my brushes, you can check out the link below, and with them you can get 30 art tips that will improve your art in 30 days. Now we need something to draw in, and there's a lot of drawing programs that you can use. Some paid ones, some free ones. And you don't really need any fancy programs, you just need something that has a brush, eraser, and colors. But also the pen has to feel nice and smooth, and the rest is just a bonus. Let's just start with some free ones, which is Krita, Medibank, GIMP, Fire Alpaca, and from these I use only GIMP and Krita. Now for paid ones, I've only used Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint and Procreate. And to be honest, I can recommend all of them. So for a long time I've drew only on Procreate in iPad, and it felt super smooth and it was super enjoyable. But there were a lot of things that I was missing from my desktop. So I kept switching between desktop and iPad till I found a CSP. It is also not perfect, but the lines were super smooth and it wasn't as laggy as Photoshop. But it all depends on what you want from a program. So all of these programs have things that I miss from other programs. So not a single one is perfect, and pretty much you have to sacrifice some things to get other. But that's why I wanna test a different hybrid workflow where I'll be using CSP for sketching, and then for rendering I'll be using Photoshop. If you're just starting, just try every program you can and see what suits you the best. Now let's talk about apps that will help you with practicing and learning to draw better. It will also help you with references and making drawing much more enjoyable. So the first one is Gesture Search, which I use a lot, and it's amazing for practicing. So pretty much we choose a folder with our references, then we choose how many folders we want to go through, and then how much time for each one. And when we press start, the window will pop up with a reference, so you can practice and draw it. And there's a lot of options like pose, invert, grayscale, and many more. Just try them for yourself. And it's super useful because we have a limited time, and with that we can focus only on the most important things, and also we'll get so much faster at drawing. Next one is amazing app for using references, and I hate it having multiple windows of references, having my software a little bit smaller, or just constantly alt tabbing. But PureRef helps me so much, and it's basically a window where you just drag and drop your references, and the best part is that it always stays on top. And you also have many options that you can choose from. And third, we have actually two apps, and here just choose whichever you want. So we have Blender and Dust 3D. So we pretty much just take a 3D model, put it into the program, and then we can animate to whatever pose we want. In Dust 3D, your character models are already rigged, so you can just move the bones and pose them. And with Blender, it all depends on the model you get. So it's a little bit more complicated because sometimes you have to rig it yourself. And after you pose the character, you can just add some lights and then press render. So you will have a photo of your reference. And you can also just import some models of the body parts and move them around to practice drawing them from different angles. And also when it comes to 3D, you can use the built-in feature in CSP where you have just a simple model and you can move it. And if you want something that can help you with recording your drawing, then you can just use a simple OBS. And it's pretty nice seeing your art just being created. Next, we have very useful websites, and I use them mainly for references. So the first one is Pose Maniacs, a website with a huge library of poses that you can even rotate in 3D. You can just pick a category and then look for the poses you want. And also there's an option to import the pose into CSP, and it's an amazing website for getting references. But also you can see all the muscles on top of the model, so you can practice anatomy with it. And then we have a really cool website where we can get some 3D models, and it's Sketchfab. For example, this human head, it's an amazing reference that we can rotate in any angle we want. And that's just the beauty of 3D. And I actually love using these 3D models to practice drawing things in different angles. It's super useful. And you can just start with a simple front view and then rotate it into different angles. And next one is ArtStation, which I use mainly for references and also for getting inspired. And just looking at this amazing art makes me want to draw. And we can also use for the references here, which are drawings, but also we can get some reference packs that are paid. So I usually just go for my favorite artist profile and I put their art into my PureRef. Then I can just study the drawings. Next one is Pinterest. Pretty much everyone knows Pinterest. It is also an amazing place to get references. But nowadays there's a lot of AI slop, so you just gotta filter this. You can just type whatever you want and just go look for this. And there's also an option to create your own mood boards. So you can have some for textures, for some backgrounds, for poses, for lightings, and pretty much whatever you want. Then we have some website for practicing gestures like line of action or quick poses. I don't really use them no more, I just use Gesture Search, but they're still pretty good. Now let me give you things that will help you with being more consistent and boost your productivity, so you can draw even if you're not motivated. But first you just need to realize that motivation follows action. So simply just by starting something, we'll get motivated, and with that we'll be able to keep on going. It works super great for me. Sometimes it's really hard to just start and draw for me, but when I simply just sit and stare at the blank canvas or do some lines, all of a sudden I just get more motivated and I just start drawing. So now we can go to the tools that will help you with being more productive. And the first one is my favorite, and I call it a to-draw list. Just write the character down that you want to draw. Then when you sit and you don't know what to draw, just pick the top one and start drawing. After you finish it, just check the box that you've already finished it and go to the next one. You can also plan the drawing and think of the poses, the lighting, the compositions you want to have. You can even pick references already. So when you sit and you want to draw, you'll have everything you need and you won't feel as overwhelmed. You can use Notion or Milnote for this. Next we have a simple calendar, and I use them to block some time for drawing. But not only that, I also write there what I'll be drawing and what I'll be practicing. And here you can also prepare the drawings and things for it. Because for me, sometimes I just don't know what to draw and it creates this excuse that makes me don't want to draw. And this pretty much just kills it. Next we can create something that we have all our drawings in, and I love to have a place where I put them, and when I just finish one I can put my drawing there. Also what it does, it basically shows you the progress that you've made and can be a huge motivation for you, because whenever you're looking at your recent drawings you don't really see that much improvement, but when you extend the time frame and you compare the recent drawings with some older ones, then you will actually see a huge difference. And it's also nice to have some place for your references, and it can be a simple folder, and I like to have a special folder for each character that I'll be drawing. But also Also, you can do this for poses, body parts, and artists, and it keeps everything organized and clean. But here's I also like to do this thing, where I just have a place where I have my favorite artists and I put my drawings next to them and see how they compare to each other. It also helps me with seeing what to study next. Then we have a simple to-do list, and for that you can use sticky notes, or I use TickTick app, and just create a task, and if you finish it, just check the box. And then we can have a simple time tracker, so it basically shows us how much time we've spent on an app. Now also you can check out my Patreon for monthly tutorials, link below. And to recap everything that you can use, first we want to choose a tablet that we'll be drawing on, and we have a couple of options here: a screenless tablet, a display tablet, an iPad, and a phone. So choose whichever you want based on whatever you need. Then we want to choose our drawing program, and the best thing that you can do is basically try them all and see whichever you like the most. Now for apps that will help us practice and draw, we can use a gesture sesh, which is great for time practices. We can use a PureRef, which is great for having references, and we can also use a Dust3D or Blender to actually create these references. Now for websites that we can use, we have PoseManiacs, a place where you can look for poses with an option to rotate them in 3D, a Sketchfab, here you can find amazing 3D models that you can also rotate and use them as a reference. Then we have ArtStation, a great place for getting inspired and also getting references. Pinterest is another one for getting references, but just watch out for AI. And then Line of Action and Quick Poses, simple place where you can just practice gesture and figure drawings. And then we have some tools for productivity. So a to-draw list, basically a list of characters that you just want to draw, a simple calendar so you can plan where you'll be drawing, and an artboard of your drawings so you can see the progress that you've made. Then we want to have some folders for our references. You can also use a simple to-do list like some sticky notes or TickTick, and also some time trackers to just see how long have you been drawing. Now if you love drawing characters but you struggle with drawing anatomy, then this video here will help you. So bye.